What makes an ending so important? Why do we need endings? As the phrase goes, all good things must come to an end. And while someone may say they understand what this means, the pure depth of this statement stretches far beyond any quick grasp of the idea. As the truth is, without an ending, everything done is meaningless. There is no point to what is done if there is no closure or goal to reach. It's often why stories of people gaining immortality are about the person completely losing themselves, because they can do anything, all of the time, for the rest of time. This is the same reason why a game without a proper ending is an unfinished game. But what's arguably worse than an unfinished game is a game ending that can't be decisive. I'm of course referring to games with multiple endings. See, the original purpose of multiple endings was to make you feel as though your choices throughout the game affected the outcome. Though the truth is, it's a bunch of bullshit. Because the truth is, these games are often made in a way in which your choices are meaningless or are the difference between getting the objectively good ending. Not only that, but a lot of these games make it almost impossible for the average gamer to get it right on the first time, which ruins the experience. They intentionally manipulate you into picking certain options which contaminate your playthrough and create an objectively good ending that breaks the balance. For these reasons, I believe that multiple endings in games are often flawed, which ruins the game experience as a whole, and in this video, I will break down why. When I was recently watching my cousin play Celeste for the first time, a platform about climbing a mountain and learning to love yourself, I recalled my first experience with the game, when it was the only one on my Switch, and the emotion of every scene filled my room. Before becoming heartbroken, as I realized I could never have those same first-time feelings if I tried to replay Celeste. I stopped feeling the icy winds of the mountains. I could no longer breathe the cold air, and I completely disregarded why it was such an achievement to climb to the peak. This is the importance of a first-time playthrough. To wish you could go back and encounter all of it as brand new. As even if Celeste is still a spectacular game, the emotion of every scene is completely lost on me. I no longer feared my evil twin, or felt bad for Mr. Oshiro. Even the feeling of calming anxiety through the use of a feather almost seemed to become a chore in my jaded eyes. Though, this isn't a bad thing. Instead, it means that this game, like few others, captured an experience that could only be enjoyed to its full capacity once. It showed me that too often do people shove replayability into their games, which turns a once great game into a headache. For example, CaveStory. CaveStory is regarded as an amazing game. I've heard so many great things about it, but I could never get into it. This is simply because when I learned that there were multiple endings, or rather as some people see it, replayability, my brain knew that I would ruin my adventure no matter what I did. The complexity of getting the good ending either required me to fail multiple times or to reluctantly search up a guide. Meaning I would be too focused on if the walkthrough guide told me to grab a specific item that it no longer felt like my playthrough. I would be too busy making sure all these characters were safe that I would have no idea who I was actually saving. Though, this is taking it from its worst perspective. So alternatively, let us say I took the game in like Celeste. I became attached to the characters. I felt the emotions. I watched them all die. And at the end of my playthrough, I see bad ending. Do you just expect me to go on with my life? So I'm already booting up the game again, forcing myself to run through a second time to make sure I'm satisfied with the ending. And I ask you this now, how is that enjoyable? Why is that considered replayability? An ending means so much more than just the credits. It should make you feel as though you completed your journey, not as though you have to rewind to get it right on the next time. An ending is supposed to make you wish there was more, but happy that it's concluded. Not happy that it's concluded and wish you didn't have to restart the game. It should complete the story in some way, and make you feel distraught that you can never enjoy it like the first time. That is the importance of an ending in a first-time playthrough. Have you ever played Detroit Become Human? Have you ever watched a YouTuber play Detroit Become Human? First off, it is an amazing game. It questions our society as a whole and portrays the near future of AI gaining true sentience. Though just like many of the androids found within, a large portion of content creators found themselves picking the instinctively best option without a second thought. Well, everyone except for Micheal Reeves.
Raise the city, that's the only language humans understand. Ruin it all for those fucking humans. This is content that, like, if you think about it, most people have gone the pacifist route because it feels bad to be bad.
You're trying to justify that?
Most of the people have played this game and are watching. What do you want to show them the same shit all over again?
And while this clip was originally made to be a simple joke, it instead sheds light onto the impersonation of choice. Games like Detroit Become Human follow the all too familiar choose your own adventure formula, which allows the person to make their own decisions. What it doesn't take into account is the necessity of a player wanting to prosper, as in gamers will look for the best choices to get the highest success rate. Until Dawn, The Quarry, Man and Medan, all choose your own adventure games that have a captivating story if done correctly. You hear that? If done correctly. A story shouldn't make me feel as though I did the wrong thing, but that's what these games do. They make a person feel like shit because all the good choices have such a small positive reaction, while the bad choices have the world crashing down on you. They give you the option to be evil, but make you feel terrible for doing so. They manipulate you into certain selections by having the characters berate you for choosing the bad options. There shouldn't be bad options, it should instead be equal or none at all. This brings up a possible solution: good and evil systems. Good and evil systems brings a whole different problem into the mix, where the person either plays hero or villain. Your choices are no longer your own, and your experience is no longer your own because you're too busy following one of two narratives. At this point, it would seem that we hit a dead end, but quite the contrary, because there is a game that deals with both of these problems. Enter Night in the Woods. This is the part where I fangirl about Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods is a story game in which you play as May, a college dropout returning to her hometown of Possum Springs and struggling to come to the terms with the fact that life moves on. I love this game. The spectacular dialogue, the various situations you can find yourself in, the multiple routes that affect your playthrough but never give you the feeling of FOMO, and the fact that my experience felt different from everyone else's, it is all done extremely well. It shows how when everything is in balance, everything is important. You might be yelling at me saying, they only let you pick certain dialogue and scenarios, it's basically a good and evil system. Shut the fuck up. Because unlike those broken systems, there are no two options that differ between kill your parents or buy your parents some chocolate. On top of that, your choices only allow for one route. You cannot make time for everything, and once you have made a decision, you have to stick with it. That's what makes it so special. It focuses on the most important question: how do you want to spend your time? You want to make a pizza tier list? Go ahead. You want to learn about constellations? Go ahead. You want to put cups on your ears? Go ahead. Up until the final moment, your choices affect the ending, but stealing a pretzel doesn't result in chaos. All of your choices have an equal positive or negative reaction, but none of them are considered the objectively wrong choice. It's what makes Night in the Woods so special to me. It made me feel as everything I did mattered, and I was just May trying to find my footing. It is one of my top games, and I am waiting for a day when another one like it comes along. The beauty of the grotesque. It is the only term I truly believe encapsulates how I feel about Oneshot. A melancholy story that has no solutions or happy endings, a tale that shifts your worldview just ever so slightly. An area devoid of hope and light where you are suddenly tasked with being that single speck of luminance. The problem is, you are just a spectator to this madness, and the true savior is a child named Nico that doesn't even know how they got there. Imagine that. Imagine being a child, waking up in a realm on the brink of death with a black night sky as far as the eye can see, and everyone around you is counting on you to save them. That's fucked up. I mean, they're a child. They aren't even from this world. They say that ignorance is bliss, but Oneshot uses your ignorance as its greatest weapon. It hides its true nature until you're staring down the barrel of the gun, and all the clear signs you missed fall into place like jigsaw pieces. It leads the player into a false sense of security, making them build connections with the characters and believing everything will turn out alright. Instead, at a moment's notice, this positive attitude is curb-stomped into oblivion, leaving you with a slim of your morals and a grim decision you have to make. Let Nico go home, or rescue this decaying world. It is a gut-wrenching punch only amplified by the knowledge of everyone you got to know throughout the game, only getting more difficult as you realize that all Nico wants to do is to see their mom again. In this distress, I found beauty. Beauty in the fact there was no way out, and no matter what I did, it would be the objectively worst decision. Sometimes, I wish that was it. I wish that there was nothing left and the game would only allow me to wallow in my sorrows. Unfortunately, this didn't happen. And when Oneshot hit the Steam pages in 2016, it added a new ending called the Solstice, an ending that solved all the problems, but made my judgment completely worthless. thus displaying the imbalance that occurs when adding a subjectively good ending. A distortion that lifted the emotional weights and made the bad ending pointless. Don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean I hate the Solstice. No, I love it. I just don't understand, if a happy ending was always the plan, why did they give me the option in the first place? Which led me to a whole different question. What is the function of bad endings if no one is striving to get it? Cause in my head, I can't find one. Why do we have bad endings? Is it to hope the player will fuck up and have to play the game again? Because that doesn't sound very cash money. Is it to force the player to put in more effort finding collectibles even if they don't actually enjoy their experience? Whatever it is, I see it as a lie used to increase playtime, which tarnishes the meaning of multiple endings and makes them into a complete joke. Because truth be told, if you can't make all endings equal, then you shouldn't have multiple endings in the first place. Just like I said earlier, all good things must come to an end. Oh yeah, and so does this video. Endings are incredibly important. They can affect how a player views a game and entirely change how they decide to traverse through it. Multiple endings can be a hassle, but if done correctly, they can add more impact or utterly change the experience for each person. So this video wasn't created as a game developer should not make multiple endings. It was instead to highlight the problems within multiple endings that I would personally like to see worked on. But maybe I'm wrong. And if you believe I am, why not drop a comment? Who knows? I would be more than happy to continue the conversation down below. But until then, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why not consider subscribing? It's free and really helps me get one step closer to my dream. And if you want to watch something else, I suggest one of these videos. Either way, I hope you have a good day, and see ya!